Hi everyone and welcome back. So in this video we are going to talk about another troubleshooting step for NestJS. We have written a lot of code, right? And there is always a possibility कि error भी आ सकती है. Cyclic dependency error आ जाती है. Unable to resolve this particular class. Unable to resolve this particular dependency in this particular module. Maybe you have forgotten to export a particular service from a module. Different type की error हमने देखी होगी. But this is important, cyclic dependency error. And what is the use case here? I mean, most of the time it doesn't happen, but in some particular edge case, there is a situation where there are two modules which are dependent on the services of each other, like user module, auth service. Auth service needs to access the user database, so it needs to go to the user service. User service needs to know the authentication or status of the user. So both are interdependent. And this is called a cyclic dependency issue. If you try to create something simple, like you just create a user module and config module or user module auth module, and you are not writing any supporting code to allow the dependency injection, NestJS will not allow you to bootstrap the application because NestJS says cyclic dependency is not allowed. So how we are going to troubleshoot it? I'm going to prepare this demo. So I have a user module and a config module. Config module, config service, user module, user service. User service will be dependent on config service. Config service will be dependent on the user service. So config module is dependent on user module. User module is dependent on the config module. हो गया? Cyclic. A depend on B, B depend on A. तो इस तरह की cyclic dependency की वजह से they are not able to instantiate themselves. Right? So here let's create a user service. And here user service is using config service, and similarly this config service will be using user service. So I'm just preparing this demo. User service is a provider. Now we'll go to the config service, inject a user service here, and injecting is just fine. We don't need to use the service for the demo. So this is the user here. And now if I try to start the application, what will happen? So open this in integrated terminal, npm run start. This is how also you will be running the application. And all this code is shared based on the day I'm putting for the video. So here you can see the big message. Let's try to read it. App service is not a provider, app module. Okay, I need to first import app config module. So this is the step 1 of resolving the error. User module is using user service, but I haven't imported the config module here, right? So inside a user module, I need to provide a dependency of app config module so that I can use the config service inside a user service. Step 1 is resolved. Now I got this thing. Let's go to config module and import the user module here because we are using user service. Okay, this is also resolved now. User module. Now I should see something else. Circular dependency between modules. So use forward reference to avoid this. How to use that? I mean, NestJS message itself telling you to use the forward reference. Simple. There are 4 places you need to update the code in both the modules and in both the services where you are doing dependency injection. Just use forward reference. And so this is the situation, like A and B is dependent on B, B is dependent on A. So I'm just using this forward reference here. Forward reference app config module. Same you need to do inside the config module for a user module. So this is we are doing inside a user module for config module. Forward reference config module. Now go to your other place, which is your config module, copy it. And inside config module, replace it with the user module. So this is the step 1 to fix it. Now step 2 will be inside a services where we are injecting the user service and config service interchangeably. So here let's go to our service. The issue still persists. So here we need to inject forward reference user service. So NestJS knows, okay, user explicitly allowing to have this kind of a